Before there was glass, before there were gears, before names like Newton or Galileo ever whispered through history, there was a quiet night. You're standing in it now. Above you, the sky stretches deep and dark, stitched with stars that seem to shimmer not just with light, but with ancient memory. You feel your breath slow, your body soften, as though your very bones recognize this vast ceiling. Long ago, before maps or machines, a pair of eyes just like yours tilted upward. Maybe they belonged to a child, maybe to a shepherd, maybe to someone resting after a long day, lying back on warm stone. What they saw is what you see now, tiny pinpricks of flickering light, scattered with no obvious order. Yet too beautiful to ignore. You begin there with awe, because that's where science always begins. In the beginning. People looked up, not to measure, but to wonder. They watched the slow dance of stars, how certain patterns returned with the seasons. The hunter, the lion, the seven sisters. These constellations were not charts, not coordinates, they were stories. Memory etched in the sky, guides for travel, calendars for harvest. Symbols of meaning too big to say aloud. You breathe in slowly. You imagine firelight. Imagine a group gathered under the open air, sharing tales shaped by starlight. The night. Sky was their theater, their clock, their silent teacher. Even now it speaks to you, doesn't it? What was once mythology slowly became pattern. What was once pattern eventually became observation. Some stars did not move as expected. One light wandered across the sky. Another disappeared and returned. The moon changed her face. The planets, then called wanderers, defied the neat stories. They moved in loops and lurches, unsettling the perfect symmetry, and yet no one looked away. They kept watching, year after year, lifetime after lifetime. From deserts and islands, mountaintops and river valleys, people traced these cosmic paths, not with machines, but with time, memory, and quiet dedication. You walk gently in their footsteps now. The ancient Babylonians marked the heavens on clay tablets. They noticed eclipses and movements, giving rise to the earliest predictions. In Egypt, massive stones were aligned with solstices, the architecture itself becoming a kind of sky calendar. The Greeks gave stars names and debated their nature. Was the sky a dome? Were the stars fires or holes in some divine veil? You wonder too. Even now, with all we've learned, the questions remain beautiful. What is it about looking upward that stirs something in your chest? Perhaps it is this. When you gaze into the stars, you are not just observing the universe. You are witnessing your own need to belong somewhere within it. Across continents, across centuries, people began to measure with tools, not telescopes. Not yet, but with sticks and shadows. The Chinese astronomers built observatories with sighting walls and reference points, marking planetary paths with care. In the Islamic world, domed observatories mapped the sky with such precision that even the tilt of the earth was refined. No one could yet reach the stars. But piece by piece, they brought the sky down into understanding. Still, all this watching was done with the naked eye. Just you and the heavens, no lens between. It's remarkable what patterns human vision alone can detect, how precise a glance can become when repeated thousands of times. You imagine yourself in that quiet practice, watching the same point every night, noticing a star that returns a day later than expected, sketching dots in the sand, then comparing with your grandfather's maps, finding joy not in answers, but in the waiting. This patience is the beginning of all astronomy, and still the stars whispered, "Come closer." You feel that longing in your own chest. It's not about control. It's not about conquering the sky. It's about connection, about reaching out across a cosmic silence and hoping something reaches back. You turn inward now to your own eyes. Two soft, curved windows. Behind them, a mind that can imagine time, a heart that feels small and large at once. Inside you is the same desire that lit ancient fires under starlit skies, the same wonder that makes a child ask, "What is that?" Star, you are part of a long, quiet story, not of discovery alone, but of attention, of looking even there's nothing yet to see. So much was born from that attention. The telescope, still far in the future, was already forming, not in glass, but in longing. And it is longing that guides you still. Even now, with satellites circling and deep space probes coasting into darkness, the most powerful force in astronomy is not technology. It is curiosity, doubt, and that starts in you. Let it settle there, in the quiet behind your eyes. Let your gaze wander upward again. The stars above you tonight are not just dots of light. They are echoes of ancient fire. Each one, a story you've only begun to hear. You lie beneath them the same way others have for thousands of years. Nothing between you and the universe but time. And the soft breath of a dream forming. Because soon, someone will build a tool that brings the moon closer. Soon, a simple tube of glass will shift everything. But for now, stay here in the dark with your ancestors, your thoughts, the sky dot just before you fall asleep. Ask yourself gently, what happens when you take a breath and dare to look a little closer? It begins with glass, not in a laboratory, but in a quiet workshop where light bends and someone dares to ask, what if I could see farther? You stand beside that workbench now. The air smells of wood shavings and metal filings. The light is soft, filtered through dusty windows. Here, a man named Galileo leans over a slender tube, the first of its kind, in his hands. His breath is calm, but his mind is racing. This is no toy. This question made solid dot in your palms. The telescope feels warm. It is not magic. It is just shaped glass, held in place by brass and wood. But the moment you lift it, the world changes. You raise it toward the sky, and the moon rushes toward you. Its surface, once smooth and distant, now shows valleys and ridges. You see craters, long shadows carved in stone. It looks imperfect. It looks real. And in that imperfection, something ancient shatters. The belief that all things in the heavens are perfect and unchanging dot with a few turns of the lens. The stars become too many to count. What once looked like a handful of points is now a sky bursting with hidden light. You're not just seeing more. You are seeing differently. Galileo, in his time, had heard of a spyglass, a tool made in the Netherlands, used to see far ships from coastal towers. But Galileo didn't just look outward. He looked upward, and in that small shift of direction, the whole world turned. Imagine his heart when he first saw the 4 moons of Jupiter circling like tiny dancers. This meant that not everything orbited Earth. The universe, once built around us, was now wider, deeper, stranger. You can feel the weight of that realization pressing gently on your chest. It does not crush you. It opens you. You see now that? The telescope was never just about magnifying distance. It was about shrinking the boundary between you and the unknown. Each lens is like a thought, curved, focused, refined, and when light passes through, it changes. So Galileo wrote what he saw. He shared his sketches, the mountains on the moon, the phases of Venus, the stars packed into the Milky Way, and the world did not respond with applause. The truth, it seems, unsettled many. For centuries, people believed the heavens were still, and divine, perfect orbs in crystal spheres. But this glass tube whispered a different truth. One that was messy, dynamic, alive. You may not feel brave in your own life, but even now, holding this fragile instrument of vision you share in a quiet courage, the courage to look again, to let what you see reshape what you believe. Outside, the sky darkens again. You lift a telescope to Saturn this time. Its rings appear, soft, strange, almost unreal, like a planet wearing a halo. You know that Galileo saw them too, though. He didn't understand what they were. He called them ears or handles, unsure of what he was looking at. But still, he looked and kept looking. That is the gift of the telescope, not that it gives perfect answers, but that it invites deeper questions. You breathe in, even now, centuries later, this same instrument remains your companion. Improved, refined, expanded, but still just a way to bring the distant near. Each evening sky is an invitation. Each turning lens a soft echo of the first. You are part of a lineage now, not of invention alone, but of vision. Let yourself imagine what it meant for the world to be rearranged, for the center to shift, for Earth to become one more body in a grand turning ballet dot. It was terrifying. It was beautiful. And it was only the beginning dot. As you lower the telescope, you keep the stars in your eyes a little longer. You feel the shape of questions you hadn't known you carried. Questions about light, about movement, about truth. They do not need answers now. Only space dot. You walk quietly with them into the hush of night dot, and somewhere deep in your awareness, another question begins to rise. Not about the telescope itself, but about the light it gathers. Because what is light really? Where does it come from? How far has it traveled? And what stories does it carry? As you lie down again, the glass tube resting at your side, your thoughts stretch outward, not to lenses now, but to the stars themselves. Dot. In the next chapter, you'll follow the path of that light, the silent whisper from the universe. The language of distant suns, the soft, steady flicker of meaning moving through the dark. You begin to ascend, not with effort, but with thought. Up from the valleys and cities, past the clouds, into colder air and clearer skies. The ground beneath you is rock and snow, wind and stillness. There are no crowds here, no streetlights, no noise. Only the quiet hum of machines built to listen to the sky. The higher you go, the better you see. That's the secret astronomers learn. Earth's atmosphere, for all its gifts, also blurs the stars. It bends and distorts the light that's traveled so far. To see clearly, you must climb above dust, above humidity, above turbulence. And so, telescopes are carried to mountaintops, where the air is thin and the view is wide. You are here, now, standing beside a massive dome that glints under the stars. Inside, a giant mirror waits. Not a mirror like the one in your room, but a vast, curved dish, polished to perfection. So smooth it would take miles of walking to feel the tiniest flaw. This mirror doesn't reflect your face. It reflects the universe. You step inside, the dome closing gently behind you. The air is cold, but calm. The floor hums quietly as motors align the telescope to a precise spot in the sky, a star you cannot even name, but whose light began traveling toward you before cities were built. Before history was written, you breathe slowly. You are not rushed here. Telescopes do not hurry. They wait. They watch. You begin to understand that patience is part of the process. Sometimes astronomers spend an entire night tracking one single target, letting light gather pixel by pixel, until an image forms, like water dripping into a still pool, creating a reflection where there was none. The mountain, too, is patient. It has waited millions of years to hold this observatory. It does not speak, but it sees. Outside, the wind slides past the dome without resistance. Inside, the telescope turns like a dancer, slow and precise. It follows coordinates in the sky, moving with invisible grace. You imagine the image it captures. Not just dots of light, but spirals, clouds, filaments of stars. A galaxy in a frame. A corner of the universe. Pause. The mirrors here are not just tools. They are instruments of attention. They reflect what most will never see. But they also reflect something inside you. The desire to look deeply. The willingness to wait. The curiosity to keep turning toward the unknown. As you walk along the quiet corridor of the observatory, you see monitors glowing softly. They display not photographs, but streams of data, lines, numbers, graphs. Light transformed into code. Each pixel of an image has a story. How long it traveled, what wavelength it arrived in, how much dust it passed through, whether it came from a star, a planet, a dying sun. And behind every story is a question. What made this light? What is it trying to say? You feel a quiet reverence in this place, a sacredness not of religion, but of intention. Everything here exists for one purpose, to look outward. Clearly, some of the world's greatest telescopes live on Mauna Kea in Hawaii, La Silla in Chile, or the Canary Islands. Placed far from the glow of human light, they open their eyes when night falls and listen until dawn, Their mirrors are enormous, some made of a single curved piece, others built from dozens of hexagonal tiles, fitted together like a puzzle. They move as one. Each adjustment is subtle. Each image, a reward. You begin to feel what it means to be part of this. Not an observer, but a participant. You may not wear the lab coat. You may not steer the telescope, but you too carry the same wonder, the same hope, the same long, quiet gaze into the night dot, and sometimes in that stillness, a discovery is made. A supernova, a comet, a new moon, a flare from a distant quasar. Moments like that don't arrive with fanfare. They appear gently, almost shyly, on a screen. And somewhere leans closer, heart slowing, breath held. You imagine that moment. You feel it in your chest, that fragile hush when the unknown becomes known. Dot, it is not loud. It is not dramatic dot. It is simply dot, 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 clear dot outside. The stars wheel slowly overhead. You don't feel time passing here. It moves like the sky, steady, without urgency. Dot, this mountain, this telescope, this quiet. They all exist for one thing, to bring you closer to truth. Not truth as certainty, but truth as light. You step outside once more. The air is crisp, your breath a soft cloud. Above you, the stars are no longer a mystery. They are companions. You have followed light up to this mountaintop. You have seen it caught and curved and made visible, but not all light can be seen. Some is hidden, cloaked in frequencies your eyes cannot feel. And yet, that light too holds stories. You begin to wonder. What if there are telescopes that see what you cannot? What if there are instruments that listen to the warmth of the universe or the deep, pulsing waves of ancient galaxies? Let that question rest beside you as you sleep, because next you'll drift into the world of invisible light and the extraordinary tools that reveal the hidden. The eyes that see beyond sight. Close your eyes for a moment. You don't lose the world when you stop seeing it. You begin to feel it in other ways. The hush of wind on your skin, the warmth across your face, the vibration of distant movement. And so it is with the universe. Much of it is hidden from human sight, but not from perception. Tonight, you journey deeper into light. Not the kind you can see, but the kind that waits just beyond the reach of your eyes. Visible light is just one small slice of a vast spectrum. Imagine a long flowing ribbon stretched from horizon to horizon. What your eyes see is only a fingertips width in the middle, but to either side of that visible band lie entire worlds. Infrared, ultraviolet, X-rays, gamma rays, radio waves, microwaves. All of it is light. All of it travels through space as energy, as waves, as signals. And each type reveals something the others cannot. You begin with warmth, with infrared. Infrared light is not cold, not distant. It glows from heat, from movement, from life. It is the gentle breath of stars being born, the hidden warmth behind. Dark clouds of dust. Imagine a nebula, a cloud of gas and dust, cold and opaque to your eyes. But through an infrared telescope, it opens like a curtain drawn back. Inside, you see the birth of stars, cradled, glowing, swaddled in invisible fire. These stars would be invisible in visible light. But in infrared, they shine. In the telescope that shows them, it must be kept colder than the night sky itself. Because even a whisper of warmth from Earth would drown out the signals from space. You float through one such observatory now, the Spitzer Space Telescope. No longer in operation, but still drifting in your memory. Cooled to near absolute zero. It saw what human eyes could not. The heat of forming planets. The faint glow of dust spirals. The slow exhale of ancient stars. You move now toward longer waves. Toward radio. Radio telescopes do not look like the ones on mountaintops. They are not sleek tubes with mirrors. They are dishes, vast curved ears pointed at the sky. The largest among them are miles across. Sometimes, many smaller dishes work together, spread across deserts, hills, and islands, linking there. Signals into one enormous vision. This is interferometry, combining many eyes into one. And what do these ears hear? The hum of hydrogen, the cold breath of the early universe, the rhythmic pulse of spinning neutron stars called pulsars, cosmic lighthouses blinking through the dark. Radio waves are patient. They travel through clouds, through dust, even through the walls of your home. They carry the signature of things too distant, too ancient, too quiet for any other form of light. You drift now through the very large array in New Mexico. 27 dishes all turning together, all listening. You hear a rhythm, not sound, but data. A cosmic beat. A quiet pulse from the deep. Then you rise into higher energy, ultraviolet and X-ray. This light is dangerous. It sears and pierces, the kind of light that burns and transforms. You can't see it, but you felt it in sunburns, in medical scans, in sudden flashes of brightness dot in the sky. Ultraviolet light pours from hot young stars, while X-rays burst from matter being torn apart by black holes. These rays are blocked by Earth's atmosphere, a blessing for your body, a challenge for astronomy. So, to see this light, telescopes must float in space that you imagine the Chandra X-ray Observatory orbiting high above the planet. It captures echoes of violent gas spiraling into neutron stars, galaxies colliding, atoms being stripped and rearranged. The images it returns look like fire caught in midair. Shock waves, plasma rings, glowing scars from cosmic events. Too fierce for our eyes, you do not feel fear. You feel respect. This light, though invisible, is truth. And every form of light, whether soft or sharp, slow or swift, tells its version of the story. Some reveal beginnings. Some expose endings. All of them belong to the same tale, the unfolding of the universe. You return now to a simple thought. That sight is more than vision. It is sensitivity. It is awareness. It is the willingness to tune yourself to frequencies beyond comfort. And telescopes, in all their forms, are not just instruments. They are extensions of our curiosity, built to stretch our senses, to touch the untouchable, to witness what lies behind the veil. You float through this gallery of telescopes, space-burn, ground-based, chilled in deep cold, or planted in vast deserts. Each one listening. Each one looking in its own way. Together they form a symphony, a full spectrum of light. And you are the listener. You gather these images, these signals, these frequencies into yourself, and suddenly the invisible becomes real. The silent becomes audible. The far becomes near. You remember now the stars hidden behind dust, the galaxies lurking in darkness, the echoes of supernova and whispers of planets, and you wonder ... if light reveals so much. What else lies beneath the surface of things? Because sometimes what we see is only the beginning. You feel this question settle into your chest. Not heavy, not urgent. Just present as you drift further into sleep. A new thought begins to rise, like starlight through fog. What if we could place our eyes beyond the Earth entirely, in the stillness of orbit? What happens when a telescope leaves the mountaintop and begins to float? Let that question carry you softly into the stars. Hubble's window to forever, you are floating now, not flying, not falling. Just drifting in a weightless hush above the clouds, above the air, above the tremble of the world. Below you, the earth glows, a soft swirl of blue and white. Above you, space opens wide, black, but not empty. Dark, but not silent. And beside you, riding the edge between Earth and forever, is a telescope unlike any other, the Hubble. You reach toward it gently, as though it might shimmer away if touched too quickly. It does not shine like a star, nor hum like a machine. It waits, always watching. Here, in the vacuum of low Earth orbit, the Hubble Space Telescope circles the planet every 97 minutes. It does not blink. It does not sleep. Its mirrors, fine-tuned to perfection, catch the light of things so distant that the light itself has aged. You drift closer and see your own reflection, warped in its curved surface. And beyond that reflected, refracted, received are galaxies. Thousands, millions, each one, a swirl of stars, a dance of light, a cradle of time. Hubble does not see the present. It sees the past. Every photon it catches began its journey. Long, long ago, some left their source when the first forests on Earth were young. Some were born before Earth itself had formed. Some before even the Milky Way had taken shape. And now they arrive. They enter the telescope's wide eye. They glide through filters, bounce from mirror to mirror, and land on a tiny sensor. A single square of silicon holding light that has traveled across time. And what emerges is an image, not just a picture, but a window. You float with Hubble now, side by side, as it turns slowly, gracefully, toward another point in space. Its gyroscopes balance it like a tightrope walker in zero gravity. Its computers calculate angles with exquisite care. It opens itself not like a machine, but like a question. What will we find this time? You remember some of what it has seen. The Eagle Nebula, towering columns of gas and dust, called the Pillars of Creation, the Sombrero Galaxy, tilted like a wide-brimmed hat, ringed with light. The spiral arms of Andromeda, reaching toward us like open hands. And perhaps most haunting of all, the Hubble Deep Field. You imagine this moment. A blank spot in the sky, smaller than a grain of sand held at arm's length. No visible stars, nothing obvious, just blackness. But Hubble stared into that nothing for days. It gathered every speck of light it could, patiently, quietly, and what it found was staggering. Thousands of galaxies, each one filled with billions of stars. In that tiny silent square, you feel something shift inside you, not fear, not confusion. You are not lost in the vastness, you are woven into it. Hubble's images are not just scientific, they are intimate. They remind you that the cosmos is not out there. It is here. It is part of you. The atoms in your body were once forged in stars. Some of the light Hubble catches is from stars that no longer exist, and yet their story still arrives. Light, it seems, does not forget. You rest now, beside the telescope in the vacuum of night. There is no sound here, no weather, no wind, but there is movement. Orbit after orbit, Hubble circles Earth like a guardian of sight, a keeper of memory. It has aged since its launch in 1990. It has seen repairs by astronauts, upgrades, fine adjustments. It has weathered solar storms, software updates, the passing of decades. Still it watches. Still it gathers light. You imagine what it must feel like to see so much, to witness the expansion of space, the birth of stars, the shattering of galaxies, and yet never to blink. It is a kind of devotion, a kind of stillness. And perhaps you carry a version of that in yourself. The quiet part of you that watches without rushing, that asks without demanding answers. The Hubble Space Telescope is a machine. But it is also a mirror, not only of stars, but of our longing to know. You think of the thousands of scientists who waited for its images. The students who saw those spirals and chose to become astronomers. The children who saw Saturn's rings up close and whispered, "Wow." One telescope, a million awakenings. Even now, orbit by orbit, it teaches you how to see, with patience, with wonder, with reverence for the silence that speaks in starlight. You imagine drifting with it forever, just watching, just listening, letting the light come to you. And in that stillness, you begin to ask, if Hubble shows us the past, what might see the beginning? What kind of mirror could find the first? Stars, the first galaxies, the first flicker of light after darkness? As the Earth rotates below and stars wheel overhead, that question rests beside you like a feather. Soon, another telescope will answer. Newer, bolder, colder than space itself. And it will show us something even older than memory. Something that Hubble could only hint at. But for now, stay here. Let the Hubble hold your gaze a little longer. Let time stretch. Let the light arrive. The mirror that sees the beginning, far from Earth now. Far beyond the pull of gravity and the warmth of atmosphere, you drift in silence, deeper into space, deeper into time. Here, in the frozen quiet of the Lagrange point, a place where gravity balances like a breath held still. A mirror opens. Not of silver, not of glass, but of gold. You watch it unfold, piece by piece, petal by petal, like a flower blooming in the vacuum. It does not rush. It stretches wide with purpose, precision, and grace. This is the James Webb Space Telescope, a new kind of eye built to see what no eye has ever seen. The first stars, the first galaxies, the universe in its infancy. Webb is not just larger than Hubble. It is colder, farther, more sensitive. Where Hubble looked in visible and ultraviolet light, Webb listens in the infrared, to the soft glow of heat from things so distant, their light has been stretched thin. By time itself, you float closer to its golden mirrors, 18 hexagons, arranged like honeycomb, each one tuned to catch the faintest whisper from the beginning. Webb does not orbit Earth. It orbits the sun 1 million miles away, shielded from warmth. Hidden from light, wrapped in 5 layers of silver sails that protect it from the heat of the day. Because to see the past, you must become colder than the dark. And in this deep cold, Webb begins to listen. The first images it sends are not blurry hints or abstract data. They are sharp, alive, unbelievable in their detail. Galaxies with tails like smoke, stars wrapped in clouds of dust. Light bent and curved by gravity itself. You remember the phrase, gravitational lensing, when the mass of something enormous, like a galaxy cluster, warps the very fabric of space, bending light from objects far behind it. Through this lens, Webb sees further than any telescope before, and what it sees takes your breath. Tiny, ancient galaxies, not grand spirals or bright disks, but small, irregular smudges. They do not shine with youthful brilliance. They glow like embers, soft, red, old. This is what the early universe looked like. Chaotic, messy, beautiful. You begin to understand the universe did not explode into order. It grew into it, star by star, cloud by cloud, each moment building. The next, Webb captures this unfolding, and it captures something else too. The fingerprints of atmospheres, planets orbiting distant stars, their light passing through clouds of alien air. Webb doesn't just see the planets. It reads their breath, water vapor, carbon dioxide, even hints of complex molecules, signs, perhaps, of possibility. You float beside the mirror and feel your own breath slow. This is not science fiction. This is science made quiet, made patient, made real. It took decades to build Webb, thousands of people, countless hours, $10 billion, and still it might have failed. One wrong fold, one misfired thruster, one locked hinge that wouldn't release, but it worked. It opened, it focused, it saw, and now it speaks to us in images that look like dreams. You drift through one now, a star-forming region full of color and motion, gas twisting like flame, young stars still wrapped in the womb of dust. This is where suns are born, where light begins. And you think this is also where you began, because your atoms, the carbon in your breath, the iron in your blood, were made in places like this. You are looking at your own origin. Webb does not give you answers. It gives you beginnings. It reminds you that darkness is not empty. That silence is not the absence of meaning. That time is not a wall, but a window. And as you float beside this golden eye in the deep, you realize that telescopes are more than tools. They are invitations to wonder, to patience, to perspective. You look back, not toward Earth now, but toward the oldest light. And you ask a quiet question. If we can see this far, what comes next? Because there's still more. There are exoplanets yet to be mapped, black holes yet to be measured, galactic threads yet to be traced. And still, there's something else, something even more invisible. Not a star, not a planet, not a thing, but a force, dark, strange, everywhere. Something that pulls galaxies apart. And no one knows why. You turn your gaze toward that, Mystery now. Because beyond what we can see, beyond what Webb can capture, there is still the question that haunts all of space. What is dark energy? Let that question open in you, like the mirrors of Webb, quietly, gently, toward the unknown. The force that pulls the stars apart you are farther now than light has taken you before. Past planets, past stars, past the glowing threads of galaxies. Here, space feels different. Not empty, but restless, as if even the void is moving. You float in silence, but not stillness. Everything around you is stretching, gently, slowly, relentlessly. This is not a wind you can feel, not a force you can see, but it moves all things. It moves you. Astronomers call it dark energy, not because it is made of darkness, but because it defies illumination. It cannot be touched, tasted, or gathered. It does not shine or cast a shadow. It simply is, woven into space itself. You feel it like a slow inhale, like the moment between heartbeats when everything expands. Long ago, the universe was smaller, denser, warmer, a tight, glowing soup of particles and potential. Then came the expansion. The Big Bang, not an explosion, but a sudden, unstoppable unfolding of space and time. For a while, gravity seemed to reign. It pulled matter into stars, stars into galaxies, galaxies into clusters. But then something strange happened. The universe didn't slow down. It sped up. As if space had changed its mind. As if a silent push was hidden in its fabric, urging it to grow faster and faster. This quiet acceleration was first discovered by watching distant supernova, exploding stars used as cosmic mile markers. Scientists expected the explosions to be closer, but they were dimmer than predicted, farther away. The universe, it turned out, was not just expanding. It was accelerating. You imagine this now. Galaxies drifting apart, not because they are being pushed, but because the space between them is stretching. It is not a race, it is not a tearing. It is a soft, steady expansion of the stage on which everything stands. And the more space there is, the more dark energy seems to emerge. It does not dilute. It amplifies. You drift between galaxies like petals on a growing ocean. You are not lost. You are being carried. Dark energy is estimated to make up nearly 70% of the universe, yet we do not know what it is. Not a gas, not a field, not a particle, maybe not even a thing. Perhaps it is a property of space itself, like the curve of a hill or the pull of a tide. You float in this mystery and feel its patience. It is not in a hurry. It does not rage. It expands everything without noise, without pause. Some think it might be tied to the cosmological constant, a term Einstein once added to his equations. Then discarded, then returned to. Others believe it could be energy from an invisible quantum field buzzing just beneath what we call empty space. Still others think it may change over time, growing stronger, or perhaps vanishing one day, leaving behind only the cold bones of a universe stretched too far. But you don't need an answer tonight. You only need to feel the stillness that moves. You glance back toward the Milky Way, your galaxy, your origin. Even now, it drifts farther from others. In time, distant galaxies will vanish from view, receding faster than light can reach you. Future observers, billions of years from now, may see only their own small cluster of stars, unaware of the vast cosmos that once was, and yet here. You are. You live at a moment when the sky still speaks, when the stars still shine across the growing dark, when light from billions of years ago still finds your eye. You hold this as a quiet gift, not a warning, not a fear, just awareness. That all things move, that even space grows, that the silence is not still. And as you drift among galaxies, you begin to wonder, if space can stretch, if time can bend, what else can change? What happens to matter when it's pulled toward extremes? When it collapses, not expands? You feel a slow shift now? Not outward, but inward, toward the dense, toward the invisible, toward a place where even light cannot escape. Let that thought pull you gently now. Because ahead lies a different kind of mystery, not what expands, but what collapses. Not what, let's go, but what holds everything in. In the next chapter, you drift toward the most silent things in the universe, the black holes. Where light cannot leave you, are no longer drifting outward. Now you fall, not with speed, but with inevitability. There is no wind, no sound, only a pull, gentle at first, then deeper. You are moving toward a place where the rules begin to. Blur dot before you. Something dark waits. Not dark like a shadow, but dark like a silence that has swallowed every word ever spoken. A black hole. You do not see it. You see its absence. The way stars seem to curve around a hollow space, the way light itself bows dot, it is not a hole in space. It is space. Collapse dot, imagine something so heavy, so dense, that it folds space-time inward. A mountain inside a grain of sand. A star that died and pulled even its own light into silence. This is what happens when gravity wins. A black hole begins as a star, massive, burning, alive. But when its fuel runs out, the outward push of light and heat falters, and gravity begins its quiet work. It folds. It compresses. It collapses. The star becomes smaller, denser, darker, until it vanishes behind a boundary that even photons cannot cross. This edge is called the event horizon, the point of no return. You float closer now, not too close, not dangerously, just near enough to feel its presence. And what a strange presence it is that black holes do not suck. They bend. They shape the path of time itself. If you watch someone fall into a black hole, you see them slow until they froze at the edge, never quite crossing. From your perspective, time would stop for them. But from theirs, time would rush forward, the universe aging in a blink. Einstein's theory of general relativity predicted this. And black holes prove it true. You are watching gravity become time. Watching mass become geometry. Watching the universe fold in on itself and still hold together. There's something terrifying about this. And something beautiful. Black holes are not just endings, they are architects. They sculpt galaxies, anchor stars, and guide the spiral of entire systems. At the center of the Milky Way is one of these, a supermassive black hole, millions of times more massive than our sun. It holds our galaxy in its quiet grip, not with noise, but with presence. And yet, for all their gravity, black holes may not last forever. You learn of something called Hawking radiation, a faint glow at the edge of nothing. Particles appearing at the border, like thoughts at the edge of waking over immense time. Black holes may evaporate, not in a burst, but in a whisper. Even the darkest silence may have an ending. You feel this in your body now, the mystery. The paradox, the strange comfort of limits, because black holes do not only challenge our physics. They challenge our imagination, what lies inside, not a place, not a surface, but a collapse of meaning. Some call it a singularity, a point where density becomes infinite, where time breaks, where cause and effect may not hold, but we cannot see it. Not even in theory that our math fails there. Our models fall silent, and so we listen for echoes. You remember the Event Horizon Telescope? A network of radio telescopes spread across Earth, linked together to act as one giant eye dot in 2019. It is the first image of a black hole's shadow, a glowing ring around darkness, not an eye, but a memory of light. You look into that image now, and you feel something ancient stir and you do not fear. Not certainty dot awe dot because to see a black. Awe is to see a truth that does not need to be explained, only witnessed. You drift at a safe distance. The light around it swirls in luminous arcs, dust and gas spiraling inward, heating as they fall. This is called the accretion disk, matter in its final dance. A slow, bright surrender. The closer you move, the more time stretches. Your thoughts lengthen, your breath slows, You begin to feel time not as seconds, but as space. The present becomes wide, still, endless dot, and then you pull back, not because you're afraid, but because there is more to see dot behind black holes, beyond expansion, beneath all the light and silence. There is something even more mysterious dot, not a place, not a force, but a pattern, something woven into the fabric of everything. Entropy dot, the quiet arrow of time. The tendency toward disorder. Wherever light fades, wherever stars burn out, wherever matter spreads, entropy is there, and it too has a story to tell dot, so you turn toward that idea now. A soft unraveling. Not loss, but change dot, not chaos. But evolution dot, let the gravity of this moment linger, and follow the thread of heat and time. Into the next unfolding. The gentle drift toward disorder, you begin to notice it now. The way things fade, not with drama, but with grace. A cup of tea cooling, a star exhausting its fuel, a galaxy stretching thin over time. This quiet shift is called entropy, the natural unfolding of order into something softer, something less arranged. Dot is not destruction. It is release. Entropy is the arrow of time. It does not point north or up. It points forward, from simplicity toward complexity, from structure toward stillness. You drift gently in thought. Back to the early universe, hot, dense, uniform. Smooth soup of energy dot, but then slowly ripples appeared. Tiny fluctuations, tiny imbalances. From these, stars formed, then galaxies, then planets, then life. All of it born not in defiance of entropy, but in its rhythm. Because to build a star, you must burn something. To grow a mind, you must radiate heat. Everything we create, from music to machines, increases the disorder elsewhere. And still, we continue. Not in spite of this, but because of it, entropy is not chaos. It's a kind of breathing. The exhale after the inhale of creation, you feel it in your body now. Your warmth gently leaving your skin into the air. Your heartbeat slowly measuring. The passing of ordered energy. Every action costs something. Every system moves toward equilibrium. The heat spreads. The differences fade. Balance arrives. In physics. This is called the second law of thermodynamics. But to you, in this moment, it feels like a bedtime story written into the stars. You picture a snowflake, a perfect geometry, formed in cold air. It drifts, melts, dissolves into water. The pattern vanishes, but nothing is lost. Only rearranged. Entropy doesn't erase, it rearranges. It unfolds the tightly packed, but carefully ordered, into something freer, wider, looser. You think of an old library. Books once neatly shelved, now scattered in soft piles, pages opened by wind and time. Still. Beautiful. Still whole. Just different and this applies not only to matter, but to memory, to ideas, to stories. You forget things. Not because they were unimportant, but because your mind too follows this drift, clearing space, making room. Even stars die. They burn, expand, collapse. Some end in fire. A supernova, a burst. Others in silence, a white dwarf, cooling in the dark in time. The universe will grow colder, stretched by dark energy, then by entropy. Galaxies fading from each other's reach. Stars blinking out one by one. This idea is called the heat. Death of the universe. A state where everything has evened out. No gradients. No spark, just stillness. But you are not afraid, because you realize now entropy isn't a villain. It's the tide that makes life precious. It's the reason sunsets feel sacred, why warmth is a gift, why every act of love glows against the backdrop of IMPERMANCE. In a perfectly ordered world, nothing happens. In a universe with entropy, everything is allowed to change. You breathe in that thought. Let it fill you. Let it settle. Your body is a small system of warmth, resisting the cold, making meaning, gently letting go. Even this moment, your stillness, your thoughts, your sleep, is part of the pattern. Order rising, order softening, order returning to the great drifting quiet. And yet, even in the face of entropy, there's something in you that creates, that builds, that gathers light and weaves it into understanding. That you are not here to stop the unraveling. You're here to notice it, to move with it, to make something meaningful as you do. Entropy is not the end. It is the invitation to live, to feel, to wonder that you begin to let go now, not from despair, but from peace. You are part of this vast, soft story, from stars collapsing to stars awakening, from galaxies expanding to thoughts dissolving, and somewhere in this spiral, you find rest. There is more still to explore. The codes in your cells, the maps of your brain, the microscopic life dancing inside you. But not yet. For now, you drift. You float, you fade, not away but inward, toward silence, toward sleep, toward the next gentle unfolding.